Welcome back. Time to take a look at another TOEFL reading passage from my website. And I chose this one. I'm using it in many of my new classes these past few days. And it's one that actually includes all the question types that we need. And it allows me to actually explain what needs to be done. So without further ado, let me just do this. So to access this test, you can just follow the link in the descriptions down below, or go to TOEFL.page, go to top of the page in the menu, go to TOEFL, TOEFL Reading, practice test, and then scroll down all the way until you get number 41. And if you haven't done it yet, I recommend pausing this video, doing the test on your own, seeing what you get, and then coming back. And after you know what you get, then the explanations here during this video are going to make a lot more sense. Now, let's see. As you know, we're not going to read the passage before reading the questions, so let's begin. The word trapped in the passage is closest in meaning to what? Let's see. I like to usually go back one or two sentences. We don't need to read the whole thing. In the ocean, microscopic phytoplankton, I'm not sure if I said that correctly, and bacteria are the principal sources of organic matter that is trapped and buried in the sediment. Sediment are those particles at the bottom of a liquid. In this case, let's say the water in the ocean or rivers. So bacteria and some stuff are the principal sources of organic matter that is buried in the sediment, and it's probably staying there. It's trapped. So it's not really a different meaning for the word trap. It's just catch would be close to it. Destroyed and found would be completely irrelevant. Hidden is something that some students want to go with, but hidden implies that someone actually did it. Someone actually hid it. Or, I mean, it could also be hidden by nature, whatever that means. But it's not the same as catching something. Catch actually implies that they are trapped. It's closer to trap, I would say. But hidden is also not a bad meaning. But the closer meaning to it would be caught. If you didn't have catch in here, hidden could also be a good answer. Now let's see. All the following are cited in paragraph 2 as evidence that petroleum is a product of the decomposition of organic matter, except. For these type of questions, what I like to do is, I'm not going to read the options yet. I'll just go to the passage and try to gather as much information as I can, factual information. And there are going to be at least 3 different things mentioned. So let's see. Was it paragraph 2? Paragraph 2. So let's see. Sampling on the continental shelves and along the base of continental slopes has shown that fine muds beneath the seafloor contain up to 8% organic matter. Okay. So there is organic matter in the muds. 2 additional kinds of evidence support the hypothesis that petroleum is a product of the decomposition of organic matter. So we have 2 reasons why we believe this. Oil possesses optical properties known only in hydrocarbons derived from organic matter. So that's reason number 1, why we believe this. And oil contains nitrogen and certain compounds believed to originate only in living matter. Okay, 2 good reasons why we believe this. A complex sequence of chemical reactions is involved in converting the original solid organic matter to oil and gas. And additional chemical changes may occur in the oil and gas even after they have formed. So we know a few things to summarize. Well, there is petroleum, let's say, found in the organic matter. I mean, obviously that's not the most accurate way of saying it, but we are not doing a science test. It's just the English content that we care about. And then there are 2 reasons why we believe that. And some chemical reactions may or may not occur after that. Let's see. The amount of organic matter found in layers of mud below the seafloor. So we know there is 8% that we found, and that is actually a good reason why we believe this. That's a good piece of evidence, let's say. The chemical changes that occur in oil and natural gas after they have formed. Sorry. We mentioned the chemical changes, but we didn't say that is the reason why we believe the organic matter is there. And it's a product of the decomposition of organic matter. Now we know that because this decomposition happens under the mud, and also there are 2 other reasons why, as we mentioned after the colon. So the optical properties of oil was one of the reasons. The fact that oil contains nitrogen, which only originate in living matter. So in living organisms, let's say. So these 2 reasons are mentioned. and this is also mentioned. And these three together are the reasons why we believe that decomposition is happening there. Again, you don't have to be accurate about the scientific parts of it. Just know what is happening in terms of English. If you start paying too much attention to the scientific parts, you'll get confused. So, highlighted sentence. We have to actually break it down first and just think about it in terms of 2-3 different pieces. And then the correct answer is going to include at least 2 or 3, at least 1, obviously, or 2, or sometimes 3. But also has to be accurate. Sometimes what they do is they give you one part that is correct, one part that is not. And sometimes they just use one word that changes the whole meaning. So let's see what's happening here. When oil and gas are squeezed out of the shale in which they originated and enter a body of sandstone or limestone somewhere above, they migrate readily because sandstones and limestones are much more permeable than any shale. So some things are happening. First of all, oil and gas come out of shale. Now, many students during the lessons don't know what shale means, and it doesn't even matter. I could actually just Google that and show you what type of rock it is. But let's just say location 1. So they come out of location 1, and location 1 is where they actually originate. They actually come into existence in location 1. They are made there, let's say, and enter a body of sandstone or limestone. Let's call them location 2 and 3. And location 2 and 3 are above location 1. They move quickly or easily, let's say, because location 2 and 3 are much more permeable than location 1. So another thing that happens with this one is a lot of students don't know the meaning of permeable. But again, you can just guess based on context. Permeable, it means easy to penetrate into or can be penetrated. So, sorry if you hear noises in the background. So, because location 2 and 3 are easier to get into, oil and gas come out and go into those locations. So let's see. When oil and gas are squeezed out of the rock in which they originated, okay, so far so good. It is probably because, now as soon as you see this, you have to ask yourself, do we know why they come out? And we don't really know. It is probably because the layer of rock above them is much more permeable than any shale. Now, this is a tricky one, and it's very close to the answer, but again, it's confusing the reasons. So we know that it's easier for the oil and gas to enter location 2 and 3 than it is for them to just stay or enter location 1. But we do not know why they come out. That's the problem here. So we know why it's easy for them to move. And this word because could be mentioned here. So they move easily in these locations because these locations are more permeable. But we do not know why they came out. So this because is actually just making this a wrong answer. Sandstones, which are location 2, let's say, which are made of quartz grains, blah, blah, blah. We do not care about any of this. It's just about the stones. It's not mentioning the whole story. When they are squeezed from the shale in which they were formed, so far so good, oil and gas move easily into the much more permeable layers of sandstone and limestone, location 2 and 3, above. It's good. So it mentions the location 2 and 3 being above the other one. And it mentions that location 2 and 3 are more permeable. It mentions moving easily, which is another way of saying migrate readily. And it's correct, it's accurate, and it includes almost all the information. Also in here, there was more information mentioned in parentheses. I removed those, not to confuse you. Oil and gas are squeezed out of sandstone, okay, consisting of quartz grains and migrate readily into limestone. No, this is saying they are actually in location 2 and then they go into location 3, which is not what happens. Let's see. Also on the side, as soon as you choose an option, if you scroll down, it actually tells you why they are correct or not correct. Why does the author include the information that the force of molecular attraction between oil and quartz or carbonate minerals is weaker than that between water and quartz or carbonate minerals? Even reading it is a doozy. Let's see. The force of attraction between oil and some rocks is weaker than the force of attraction between water and those very same stones. So basically, we have some stones and then we have oil and water. And those stones attract water more strongly than they attract oil. Or to put it in simpler terms. They attract water. They don't really want to attract oil, those rocks. So let's see. Why does the author mention it? Let's go up. The force of molecular attraction between oil and stones is weaker than that between water and those stones. Hence meaning so, or as a result, or because of whatever we said. So we are coming to this conclusion because of this thing, or this thing happens because of what we mentioned earlier. So because the force of attraction between water and rocks is stronger than the force of attraction between oil and rocks. Also, they are trying to confuse you by adding this one. When you see 2 commas, it's usually a non-defining clause. You can remove it. So just read from here. So water remains fastened to the quartz or carbonate grains. Let's just call them the rocks. So water remains stuck to the rocks, while oil occupies the central parts of the larger openings in the porous sandstone or limestone. So because the force of attraction was strong, water gets stuck. And because the force of attraction was weak, oil moves around, let's say. To help explain why petroleum behaves differently from water in bodies of sandstone and limestone. To help explain why oil behaves differently from water in bodies of sandstone and limestone. Good one. To illustrate why petroleum migrates more quickly through sandstone than it does through limestone. The first part is good in here. To tell us why petroleum migrates more rapidly. And that is correct. The writer was trying to tell us why that happens, but not from location 2 to location 3. It was the why petroleum migrates faster than water. And that was because the attraction strength of the rocks. To help explain how water and petroleum can mix, no. To account for the different molecular structure of oil and water, no. So also, this is how the explanations are mentioned here. Also at the end, again, you see all of your results. And if you enter your email address, it can also send it to you as an email. And if you keep the code during the lessons, we can actually go over them together. Now let's see. The word suitable in the passage is closest in meaning to. Suitable, it's something that suits you, or something that matches, something that is okay for you, or something that is acceptable. So let's see. Most of the petroleum that forms in sediments does not find a good trap or find a suitable, matching, or acceptable, or let's just say good trap, and eventually makes its way along with groundwater to the surface of the sea. So they don't find a good one. Protected, permanent, noticeable, and appropriate. Now, if you go based on context, all of those words make sense here. So the location is not permanent. The location is not protected, so they don't like it. But the closest one, again, pay attention to this part, is appropriate. It's not a good, matching, or suitable home for them. So that's why they actually don't stay there. They go to the surface. Now, according to paragraph 4, what happens to the most of the petroleum that forms in sediments? 1, 2, 3, 4. Most of the petroleum that forms in sediments, okay, that's the subject we were looking for, doesn't find a trap and eventually makes its way with groundwater to the surface of the sea. Okay, it remains in underground pools, the exact opposite of what we just said. It is buried under organic matter. Again, no, we want the opposite of that. It rises to the surface, yes. It combines with the minerals found in groundwater. We don't know, we don't care. So, the phrase is an extremely controversial question in the passage is closest in meaning to what? Well, first you have to ask yourself, what is a controversy, or what are controversial things? It's topics, questions, or ideas that usually cause a strong reaction or evoke strong emotions in people. Let's not mention any of them. But these are questions that people get very emotional about, and usually you have 2 sides that strongly oppose each other. And also, the writer chooses to use the word extremely. So this is, there is a lot of debate about this. And it's a question of great importance. Yes, it is, but that's not all of it. So controversial topics are important, but that's not the only thing about them. They are important and they cause strong disagreement. So this would be a better one. is a question that has existed for a long time. Again, most controversial topics have existed for a long time, but that's not the only meaning for it. It's a question composed of many related parts. A, C, and D are all true about controversies, but that's not the main thing about them. So it has to be a strong disagreement. According to paragraph 5, Eastern Texas is an example of a geologic region where... So another way of asking this question would be, why does the author mention Texas? Let's go up. You could also use the search option, but imagine we're in the test and we cannot do that. So I'm going to assume it's somewhere around here. I see the capital T. So Eastern Texas, such as Eastern Texas. So we are giving Texas as an example for whatever we mentioned earlier. Unlike coal, the volume of which can be accurately estimated, the volume of undiscovered oil can only be guessed at. So coal, we can guess exactly how much we have left, but we cannot guess how much oil we have left. We cannot actually estimate that. Guesses involve the use of accumulated experience from a century of drilling. Knowing how much oil has been found in an intensively drilled area, such as Eastern Texas, experts make estimates of probable volumes in other regions where rock types and structures are similar to those in Eastern Texas. So we are using Eastern Texas as a reference point for the amount that we can find in other places. Also, it's a heavily drilled area, so there is lots of drilling going on. And also, there has been a lot of drilling going on over time. So a century of drilling, lots of drilling, and we use it as a reference for other locations. Oil is located but has not yet been pumped out. That's not at all what we said about Eastern Texas. Now, keep in mind, one mistake that a lot of students make here is thinking about these as true or false options. But we do not care if they are true. Even if this is true, we don't really care about it because the question is, why does the author mention Eastern Texas? Eastern Texas is an example of what? Experts accurately predicted, no. The volume of oil can only be guessed at, no. I mean, it's true, but that's not why the writer mentions Texas. Intensive oil exploration has occurred over a long time. Correct? Sentence insert. Also, now that I mentioned sentence insert, also we're running out of time, so I have to refresh the page anyway. So I will use the time to mention a new quiz that I added to the site. And that is the insert text questions from all the different tests that I have on the site, but now they are in the same quiz. So if you come to this page and scroll down, you get 36 questions, but I'm going to add more over time. You get only insert sentence questions. And if you want to focus on the specific type, I highly recommend it. And you can just choose a sentence. It tells you why each option is correct or not correct, and so on. You get the idea. So let me scroll up, go to TOEFL, reading, and practice test. I'm going to go back to the one that we were doing, number 41. Okay, let's see. Also, I should probably do this. This is your break. You can go get some coffee or something. Also, I have coffee here. So let's skip the questions and go to 9. I could also add a number here so you could just easily scroll. But I don't really like the appearance of it. It doesn't match the dark theme of the website. So let's just go to question 9 and see what we have. Because such muds are a major source of petroleum. So as soon as you say something like this, such muds, it's like saying, well, I like such activities because... So before this, those activities have to be mentioned, or these muds have to be mentioned. Because the muds that we just mentioned are a major source of petroleum, scientists believe that petroleum originated as living organisms. Okay, let's see. Sampling on the continental shelves. No, we haven't mentioned the muds yet. And let's see. Continental slopes has shown that fine muds, now we have a reference for this, contain up to 8% organic matter. And then we go to 2 additional kinds of evidence. So these are the next 2 pieces of evidence. So we don't really want to interrupt those because then after the colon, we say oil possesses whatever, and then we go to the chemical reactions. So it's not going to be here because we are not talking about the muds anymore. It's not going to be between any of these sentences or these words. because those two reasons are mentioned here and then explained from here to here. And so nothing is going to be inserted in these parts unless it's really related to the two reasons that we are talking about, two additional kinds of evidence. I don't know why I did an air quote. It's actually additional. So we have one reason here mentioned from here to here, let's say, and then we have the two other reasons. So it either has to be here or here. One is not going to be good because we don't have a reference for mods, so it has to be two. One of the biggest issues for many students, the prose summary question. And that's because they think they have to go back and read the passage, and usually they don't have time, obviously, especially with the new style of the TOEFL test. And now that they give you two passages, I honestly believe that the passages have become a lot more complicated and a lot more difficult than the old version of the test where you were getting three. So let's see. What should we do for these questions? You don't need to read the whole passage, with some exceptions. So we have a checklist for each option. The option has to be true. It has to be general. And also it has to be related to the introductory sentence that we have. And to save time, I actually approach each of them as if they were true. So let's say they are true. Now they have to be general and they have to be related to what we say here. Petroleum, which includes both oil and natural gas, can be a gaseous, liquid, or semi-solid substance. So petroleum comes from organic matter that has undergone a complex series of chemical changes under the seafloor. I mean, it is true, but even if we didn't know, we can assume it is true. It's general about all the petroleum that is made throughout the world or the universe. And it's good information, and it's about petroleum and how it is formed. I like this one. Petroleum forms best, strong claim, when organic matter is evenly distributed over a large area and doesn't exceed 8% of the material in the clay. The only time we mentioned 8%, also it's easy to cross-reference these numbers. You could go up and read it, but there is no need to. We never said it has to be under 8%. We just said it's about 8%. Even if it were true, it's still not a good summary. It seems to be just a minor detail in the whole process. I mean, it's not a minor detail, to be fair. If this were true, it would be a very good option, but it's not true. So it doesn't pass that check. So moving on to C, although most of the petroleum formed leaks away into the ocean, some migrates from location 1 to sandstone or limestone and is caught in pools. Let's assume it's true. It's about petroleum, so that's 2 of the 3 checks that we need. And is it general? It is general. I like this one. More than 60% of the petroleum discovered so far has been found in rocks that are less than 2.5 million years old. Now, again, just the same as that one, you can go up and check it. So the 8% was here. Research has shown that fine muds contain up to 8% of organic matter. So yes, the maximum that we have found is 8%, but we never said something bad happens if it's more than 8%, or it cannot be more than 8%. So that's for that one. And the 6 million. Let's see. Okay, 60% and 65 million years. Let's take a look at the option again. More than 60% of the petroleum has been found in rocks that are less than 2.5 million years old. So it is not surprising, therefore, that the highest ratio of oil and gas pools to volume of sediment is found in rocks no older than 2.5 million years. Young enough so that little of the petroleum has leaked away, and that nearly 60% of oil and gas discovered so far has been found in material that has formed in the last 65 million years. So this is false. It's not all found in rocks that are 2.5 million years old. The rocks are actually 65 million years old, if I remember correctly. Yes. So the rocks, the test is trying to confuse you between these two numbers. So the highest ratio that we have found, like the best locations, are rocks that are 2.5 million years old or younger. But most of the oil that we have found has not been there. So the best location is that, but 60% of the oil we found was in rocks that were 65 million years old, put it that way. Porous rocks made of quartz or carbonate minerals are particularly likely to house oil pools because of their strong molecular attraction with oil. Strong molecular attraction with oil. Obviously, if you remember the one of the questions that we did, I think it was the highlighted sentence. We said that oil does not have a strong molecular. Wait a second. The rocks, let's say, the rocks didn't have a strong molecular attraction to oil. They had it with water, not with oil. Now, because it doesn't say, strong and weak are relative. Oil could be strong and water could be stronger. So we don't really know for sure what the test makers mean here. I'll put this as a maybe. It is difficult to estimate the total amount of petroleum in the world, but experts believe that 1,500 to 3,000 billion barrels will eventually be discovered. So we have two options that are false. We have an option that is a probably, and now we just have to check this one. It is difficult to guess, but 1,500 to 3,000 billion. I remember seeing this number here. Using this approach and considering all the sedimentary basins of the world, experts estimate that somewhere between 1,500 and 3,000 billion barrels of oil will eventually be discovered. So we are using this method that we just mentioned to guess how much oil we have, and experts believe we have this much. So it is true. And it's a general guess. It's about petroleum and the amount that we have left. I think that's a good option. And if you check it, it has to be true. Now, why not E? Let's see what the explanation says. The passage says oil doesn't bind tightly. Yeah, so that was the reason. It wasn't a strong molecular attraction between oil and the rocks. It was strong between water and the rocks. So yeah, that is it. At the end, you can actually give your email address and it sends you the results. You can also just tap see results. It thinks for a while and says rejected. How many did I not answer this time? I actually skipped some of the answers the second time I refreshed, but it tells you the number of correct answers, and then it shows you exactly which ones you answered correctly, and so on. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.